The capture. The jungle of Karnath pulsed with heat, its vines thick and wet with dew, and the scent of blood lingered on the wind. Varlik crept silently through the underbrush, claws sinking into the mossy ground, tongue flicking to taste the air. He had caught the scent of unfamiliar metal and smoke hours ago. A crash, human by the trajectory. Normally, he would alert the local sentries and let the scavengers clean up. But today, curiosity got the better of him. Humans. The prey that wasn't. Their meat was considered off-limits, not out of fear, but out of politics. The interstellar concord forbade hunting them. Varkari were too proud to beg for war again, so they obeyed. Mostly, Varlik reached the crash site, a shattered drop shuttle smoking in a crater of scorched earth. Debris was scattered like broken teeth across the clearing. Burnt metal, a child's plush toy, singed at the edges. He paused. A sound, a tiny hiccup, soft and wet, emerged from the far side of the pod. Varlik circled around, keeping low. That's when he saw it. A small human cub. It sat in the dirt, cradling its knees, face streaked with dirt and dried tears. Blonde hair matted to its forehead. No weapons, no armor. Just a tiny, trembling body and eyes far too large for its head. Varlik growled low and stepped into view. The child looked up and froze. This should have worked. Most creatures ran at the sight of a Varkari scout in full form. 7 feet tall, scaled and fanged, black and red frills flared in warning. His kind were engineered for fear. The cub blinked. Then, in a shaky voice, it said, "Mr. Dinosaur?" Varlik blinked. That was not the reaction he expected. He leaned in, letting out a deeper growl, claws flexing in the dirt. His tail thumped behind him. The cub tilted its head. Then, slowly, it reached into a torn pouch at its side and held something out. A crushed ration bar. Chocolate. Varlik blinked again, the growl fading. He could smell the sugar and artificial proteins. The cub extended it further, small hand shaking. "You hungry?" it asked. Something twisted in Varlik's gut. Not hunger, something stranger. Discomfort. Confusion. "No," he hissed, almost offended. "I do not eat sweets." "Oh," said the cub softly. "Okay." It hugged the ration back to its chest. Silence hung between them for a long time. Varlik considered his options. If he left now, the jungle would eat the cub alive. Karnath had no mercy for the weak. If he brought the child in, the elders would likely return it to the humans, or dissect it. If he killed it, no one would know. But still, that look, those eyes, they weren't afraid, just tired. "What is your name, cub?" he rasped, surprised at himself for asking. "Eli," the child whispered. "Are you going to help me?" The question hit like a blow to the chest. Help? He was a predator. He was Varkari. He did not help. And yet, Varlik looked around. No other survivors. No scouts. No drones. Only trees and silence. He reached forward, claws out, expecting the child to flinch. But Eli didn't. He simply raised his tiny arms and let Varlik scoop him up. Warm, fragile, trusting. Varlik swore softly in his native tongue. Then, before he could change his mind, he turned from the wreckage and disappeared into the jungle with the human cub nestled in his arms. He didn't know why he did it. He only knew one thing for certain. He could not leave the cub behind, claws and crayons. Varlik's lair was nestled deep within the roots of a massive bloodwood tree, hidden by thick vines and the scent markings of other predators, enough to warn away anything with sense. He placed the human cub, Eli, on a bed of dry moss and bones. The bones were mostly decorative now, trophies, symbols of strength. But as Eli curled up against a pile of them, his small fingers brushing the sharp end of a former prey's femur, something uneasy stirred in Varlik. The cub should be screaming, crying, begging to go home. But instead, Eli just sat there quietly, chewing on a bit of dried ration and staring up at the alien sky through the cracks in the canopy. Varlik grunted and sat down across from him, close enough to react if needed, far enough to remind the child of danger. That's what he told himself. Eli yawned. Varlik snarled, "You fear nothing?" The child looked at him. "You're scary, but not mean." Varlik bared his teeth. "I could kill you, snap you like a stick. Eli blinked slowly. You didn't. The predator leaned closer. Do you understand what I am? I am a Varkari, a killer. Apex. Do you think this is a game? Eli picked up a twig and poked the dirt with it. You look like a dragon. I like dragons. Varlik was utterly disarmed. Again, this cub refused to be intimidated. His instinct screamed at him to reassert dominance, to growl, to slash, to terrify. But what would that prove? The child didn't fear death. Or worse, he didn't understand it. Are all humans this dense? Varlik muttered. No, Eli said, sticking out his tongue in concentration. I'm smart. I just don't cry a lot. Mom said brave kids help others not feel scared. The words punched through Varlik's scales like a knife. He turned away, growling softly, but the child followed, tugging on one of the ridged frills along his back. Do you have paper? What? Paper. Or something to draw with? Varlik stared at him. You want to draw? I get bored. The alien grunted and rummaged through a bone box, pulling out a half-charred datapad from a previous raid. He offered it without thinking. Eli smiled and sat down, tapping the screen with his fingers. It still worked. Minutes passed. The jungle hissed and whispered outside. Varlik listened, half alert for threats, half watching the child draw strange shapes with his stubby fingers. Eventually, Eli held up the screen. See? The image was crude, but clear. A big creature with red eyes and claws, and a little figure beside it holding its hand. The little figure had a smile. That's us, Eli said proudly. Varlik stared. You drew me? Yeah. You're scary, but you're still good. I think you're lonely. The Varkari flinched like he'd been hit. You are strange, little thing, he said finally. Strange and strong. Eli grinned and yawned again. This time, he didn't resist sleep. He curled up against Varlik's side, using his thigh as a pillow. For a long moment, Varlik didn't move. His claws twitched. His muscles tensed. The old instinct screamed at him. This was prey. This was weakness. But when Eli let out a tiny sigh and snuggled closer, something ancient and buried stirred in the predator's chest. A low, involuntary sound rumbled from his throat. A purr, rough and uncertain. He covered the child loosely with the edge of a skin hammock. This wasn't part of the plan. He wasn't supposed to feel anything. But Varlik looked at the drawing one more time, then whispered to no one. You are mine now, cub. Pack of one. 3 suns had risen and fallen since Varlik brought the human cub into his lair, and the jungle had grown restless. So had he. Eli had made the space his own, scattering shiny rocks, drawing with scorched sticks on the cave walls, naming Varlik's trophies like they were characters in a bedtime story. The skull of a Harnokian war beast had been dubbed Sir Chomps. Varlik didn't know whether to be insulted or amused. You are not a pet, he growled one morning as Eli tried to braid a vine into his tail. I'm not, the child agreed with a smile. I'm your kid now. Varlik stiffened. That word kid had weight. A claim, a bond. In Varkari culture, offspring were expected to survive or perish. No pampering, no nurturing. He remembered his own clutch. 8 siblings, all devoured or abandoned before their 3rd sun cycle. Varlik had survived because he bit first and never let go. But this human cub didn't bite. He hugged. He laughed. He trusted. Varlik couldn't make sense of it. And yet, he had begun guarding the cave at night with new intensity, ears twitching at every sound. Not for himself, for Eli. Still, danger would not stay away forever. It came in the form of 2 Varkari scouts, armed and armored, drawn by the old crash site and the rumors of a traitor harboring prey. Varlik sensed them before he saw them. Cold, methodical, loud in their superiority. They moved like predators among prey. He used to admire that. Now it made his scales itch. He crouched near the lair entrance, eyes narrowing as the 2 emerged from the jungle mist. Their frills flared in greeting, then narrowed as they spotted the human drawings on the outer rocks. Varlik one growled, You've broken bond and law. I follow a higher instinct now. Varlik replied coldly. The 2nd scout snarled. The cub is Concord property. Return it, or face judgment. From behind Varlik, Eli peeked out, clutching a ragged cloth like armor. His eyes met Varlik's and held. Varlik stepped forward, claws unsheathed. You will not touch him. A beat of stunned silence. Then, like a crack of thunder, both scouts lunged. Varlik moved like lightning, tail whipping, claws slashing, fangs flashing. He struck the first hard across the jaw, sending the scout tumbling through a thorn bush. The second caught him in the shoulder with a plasma blade, searing flesh, but Varlik didn't flinch. He fought like a beast possessed, not for honor, not for pride, for Eli. The battle ended with blood on the roots and both scouts groaning, crawling away in fear. One left behind a shattered comms unit. The other spat curses as he limped off into the trees. You've doomed yourself, Varlik, he called. You are no longer Varkari. Varlik watched them vanish before turning back to the cave. Eli hadn't moved. His small hands trembled slightly. Are you hurt? The boy asked, voice barely above a whisper. Varlik dropped to one knee. Blood oozed from the burn on his shoulder. I've had worse. Eli stepped forward and, without hesitation, tore a strip from his shirt. Hold still. The child climbed onto a rock to reach the wound, gently patting it with the fabric. His touch was soft, careful, kind. Varlik didn't know how to process the sensation. You're bleeding because of me, Eli whispered. No, Varlik said. I bleed for you. There's a difference. Eli wrapped his arms around the predator's neck. The embrace was awkward, but warm. You're my family now, he said into the scales. Varlik froze. That word again. Family. He had never truly understood it until this moment. Not as a concept, but as a bond. Not just blood, but choice. He raised a clawed hand and gently placed it against the boy's back. Protective. Accepting. You are pack, he murmured. A breeze rustled the jungle. Somewhere far off, a human rescue beacon blinked in the sky. Others were coming. Varlik lifted his head, eyes glowing in the dark. He would not surrender his cub. Not to Varkari. Not even to the humans. What makes a parent? The sky cracked open with thunder as the human dropship descended, its searchlights sweeping the jungle floor like blades of light. Varlik crouched low in the shadows, shielding Eli with one powerful arm. The child clutched his clawed hand tightly, trembling. They found us, Eli whispered. They found you, Varlik growled, because I was not careful enough. Eli looked up. Are they going to take me away? Varlik had no answer. He'd spent days preparing for this, scouting escape paths, weaving false trails, sharpening old instincts. But deep down, he knew running wouldn't work this time. The humans had come in peace. Their weapons were for him. And yet, he couldn't imagine letting the boy go. The ship landed in the clearing near the old wreckage. Human Marines disembarked in gray armor, scanning the treeline. A woman stepped forward, an officer by the look of her uniform. Her voice was amplified through a speaker. This is Commander Rain of the Terran Recovery Corps. We're here for the missing civilian miner, Eli Hargrove. He is believed to be in the custody of an alien hostile. We are authorized to use force. Varlik's frills tensed. Hostile. He rose from the brush slowly, Eli at his side, their silhouettes framed in red jungle mist. The Marines raised their rifles instantly. Eli stepped forward. No, don't shoot. Eli. Commander Rain's voice cracked. Step away from the creature. Slowly. He's not a creature. Eli shouted. He's my dad. The words hung in the air like a thunderclap. Weapons lowered a fraction. Rain blinked. What did you say? Eli turned and grabbed Varlik's clawed hand. He saved me. Protected me. Fed me. He fought off two of his own to keep me safe. The humans stared in disbelief as Varlik stepped forward. I am Varlik of the Varkari, he said, his deep voice even. I found a cub alone in the wild. I did not harm him. I raised him. He's telling the truth, Eli added. He never once tried to hurt me. Rain looked between them. Even so, you understand what this looks like. You're a predator species. You disobeyed interstellar protocols. You violated the Concord. I know, Varlik said, and I would do it again. Silence. Then one of the Marines lowered his weapon fully. Another followed. Commander Rain stepped closer, her expression softening. Eli, do you want to come with us? Eli looked at Varlik. Can he come too? Varlik remained silent, prepared for the rejection. But Rain hesitated. There are precedents, unusual ones. Interspecies fostering has been logged in rare cases. But we need full decontamination, quarantine checks, psychological clearance. I will endure what I must, Varlik said, so long as I stay with him. Rain sighed, then nodded slowly. Very well, but you'll be observed. Constantly. Varlik nodded back. I welcome it. A few hours later, aboard the human ship, Varlik sat stiffly in a reinforced seat, clearly not designed for someone his size. Eli snuggled beside him under a thermal blanket, holding a new stuffed toy, a plush version of what the ship's AI guessed a Varkari dad might look like. It was wildly inaccurate. Varlik found it offensive. Eli adored it. You were scared back there, Eli whispered. I was not, Varlik said instinctively. Eli smiled. It's okay. I was too. They sat in silence for a long moment. The hum of the ship filled the space. Then Eli reached out and placed his small hand over Varlik's clawed one. You don't have to be a monster, he said sleepily. You could be my dad. Varlik looked down at the child, soft and fragile and brave. Then he looked out the viewport, stars streaking past. Once, he believed predators were alone, that the strong must survive by casting off weakness. But now, with a human cub curled beside him and calling him dad, Varlik felt stronger than he ever had in his life. Final line. I thought I would devour the cub, Varlik murmured to the stars, but instead he devoured me.